You give the command, the dog sits instantly. It looks at you as if to say, "All right, what's next?" You repeat the same gesture for the horse, same tone, same posture, and nothing happens. It merely observes. A step to the side, a snort through its nostrils. No clear response. Why does this happen? Why do things work seamlessly with one animal, yet with the other, nothing seems to make sense? The same owner, the same energy. Two utterly contrasting reactions. Most people assume the horse is being stubborn, or that it simply hasn't grasped the command yet. But what if none of that is the case? What if it has understood everything, far more than you imagine, and is still choosing not to react? While the dog responds to what you say, the horse responds to who you are. It's not about commands, it's about presence, about trust, about what it perceives from you without you uttering a single word. And when something, however subtle, doesn't align, it freezes. It won't comply. It won't yield. It's at this juncture that everything begins to unravel for those who insist on treating both in the same manner. Because what works for one might frighten the other. What draws one closer pushes the other away. You're attempting to apply a dog's logic to a horse's physique, and this misstep is more prevalent than it seems. The question is, does the problem lie with the horse, or with the manner in which you attempt to communicate with it? Stay with me until the end, because there's an invisible distinction between these two animals that alters everything, and if you've never paid heed to it, you might be unwittingly sabotaging your relationship with your horse without even realizing it. Oh, and if any part of this narrative resonates with your experience, comment below. I want to hear about it. And if this content is proving insightful, subscribe. So, let's delve into what truly matters. What exactly makes training a dog so distinct from training a horse? Why do methods that work flawlessly with one animal completely fail with the other? The answer begins millennia ago, in the very genesis of these animals, in their fundamental essence, because dogs and horses didn't merely evolve with different physiologies. They evolved with different psychologies, with distinct instincts, with entirely opposite ways of perceiving the world and of react to it. The dog is a pack animal. Its ancestors, wolves, lived in organized groups with clear hierarchies. There was a leader, there were followers, and the group's survival depended on this structure functioning seamlessly. Thus, over millions of years, the dog's brain was shaped for a singular purpose: to identify who leads and to follow, to seek approval, to obey commands, to work as a team. And when humans began domesticating dogs approximately 15,000 years ago, we merely intensified this characteristic. We selected the most obedient, the most attentive, those most eager for our approval. The result? An animal that is genetically programmed to follow us. Now consider the horse. It is not a pack animal in the same sense. It is a herd animal, yes, but with a crucial distinction. It is prey. While the dog evolved by hunting, the horse evolved by fleeing. Its survival never depended on following an alpha leader to hunt. It depended on reading the environment with absolute precision, on detecting danger before it was too late, on trusting its own instincts above all else. A horse that followed blindly perished. A horse that hesitated, that assessed, that sensed its surroundings before acting, that one survived. So what you have here are two animals with contrasting mental programming. The dog was designed to trust you as a leader. The horse was designed to trust itself first. The dog seeks direction. The horse seeks safety. And this difference fundamentally alters everything about how you communicate with them. When you train a dog, you use your voice, a firm tone, clear commands, repetition. And it works because its brain is anticipating it. It wants to know what you want it to do. It wants to please. It desires the reward, whether it be a treat, praise, or simply your attention. This cycle of command, obedience, and reward is natural to it. It's in its DNA. But with the horse, the voice is almost irrelevant. It's not anticipating commands. It's reading you thoroughly. The horse senses if you are tense even before you do. It feels the rigidity in your muscles, the change in your breathing rhythm, the hurriedness of your movements. And if anything in this reading fails to convey calm, consistency, security, it will not react. Not because it is stubborn, but because its instinct, that prey instinct that what has kept it alive for millions of years, is signaling, do not trust, something is amiss. And here lies the pivotal distinction. Training a dog revolves around issuing commands. Training a horse is about projecting your presence. With a dog, you instruct it on actions. With a horse, you reveal your true self. And if your true self lacks equilibrium, if you are anxious, hurried, or insecure, the horse will sense it, and it will retreat. Let's delve deeper into this. For when you truly grasp the operational mechanisms of a dog's mind versus a horse's mind, everything begins to coalesce. Every reaction, every instance of resistance. Every moment you perceive the horse as being recalcitrant, when in fact it was merely exhibiting its inherent equine nature. Dogs learn through repetition and reward. This constitutes their intrinsic learning framework. You impart a command, it performs. You reward, it associates that action with a positive outcome and reiterates it. It's a straightforward, almost mechanistic cycle. The more frequently you engage, the swifter its acquisition of knowledge. And its brain thrives on this. For remember, dogs evolved within packs where cooperation and obedience secured sustenance, protection, and ultimately, survival. Thus, for a dog, obeying and receiving approval is instinctively gratifying. It resonates at the deepest stratum of its genetic programming. Now, a horse operates dissimilarly. It does not learn through the rote repetition of commands. Its learning is predicated on emotional experience. What becomes imprinted in its memory is not the word you uttered or the gesture you performed, but rather the sensation it experienced in that moment. If it felt secure, that sensation becomes positively correlated. If it perceived a threat, that experience is indelible as perilous, and such imprints are not easily eradicated. A horse can harbor the fear from a solitary negative experience for years. For a prey animal, a negative memory can signify the ultimate dichotomy of life or death. Consequently, pressure does not yield the same efficacy with horses as it does with dogs. With a dog, you can be firm, even somewhat stern, and it will comprehend that you are correcting a behavior. It will process that as an integral component of training and proceed. However, with a horse, pressure devoid of clarity, calmness, or consistency merely translates into fear, and fear does not instruct. Fear constricts. Fear causes the horse to disengage from you, to withdraw, or worse, to erupt in panic. There is another fundamental aspect: time. Dogs respond quickly. You give a command, and they react almost instantly. But horses need time to process. They sense their surroundings. They evaluate. They decide if something is safe, and only then do they act. If you rush this process, if you demand an immediate response as you would from a dog, the horse will interpret that urgency as tension, as insecurity, and it will hesitate even more. That's why the best horse trainers speak little. They move slowly. They wait, because they understand that for a horse, silence is information, calmness is communication, and time is trust. When you give a horse the space to sense, to evaluate, to choose how to react, you are not losing control. You are gaining partnership. And here's something that surprises many people. A horse doesn't seek a leader in the same way a dog does. A dog wants someone who commands, who decides, who takes the lead. But a horse? It seeks someone who conveys safety, who is predictable, who is balanced. It doesn't need to be the strongest. It doesn't need to be the most dominant. It needs to be the most consistent, the calmest, the most trustworthy. That's why you can see a small, calm child, utterly lacking physical strength, effortlessly lead an enormous horse, and simultaneously, a large, strong, nervous adult might not even be able to approach, because the horse isn't measuring strength, it's measuring energy. It's sensing who, in their presence, makes the world feel safer, and who makes the world feel more perilous. When you understand this, when you truly absorb this truth, you stop trying to control the horse, and you begin to work on yourself. Because the horse doesn't need louder, firmer, or more frequent commands. It needs you to breathe slowly, for you to walk with intention, but without haste, for you to maintain your composure, even when it hasn't yet grasped something. Because the moment you calm down, it calms down. The moment you find equilibrium, it finds you back. And this is the secret that distinguishes those who merely ride horses from those who truly connect with them. It's not technique. It's presence. It's not strength. It's consistency. It's not repetition. It's patience. And all of it begins with you. Now, let's bring this into real life, to that moment when you are with your horse, endeavoring to impart a simple lesson, only to find that nothing seems to coalesce. You reiterate the directive, elevate your vocal pitch, try once more, and yet again, yet the horse persists in its immobility, or, worse still, begins to grow agitated, to recede, to elude your presence. And you become exasperated. For with a canine, it would be so remarkably straightforward. But with the horse, it feels as though you are conversing in a dialect utterly beyond its comprehension. And here lies the undeniable truth. You are indeed speaking the language of dogs, and the horse speaks another, one that is profoundly dissimilar. Ponder for a moment how this dynamic operates with a dog. You desire it to sit. You vocalize, sit. Initially, it fails to grasp the instruction, so you reiterate, sit, and gently guide its hindquarters downward. It sits. You offer a reward. You repeat the process over and over until, ultimately, it forms an indelible association between the verbal cue and the physical action. And just like that, it has learned. Henceforth, each instance you utter, sit, it will comply. Because your vocalization became intrinsically linked to the action, and the action, in turn, became tied to the reward. It's linear, it's ascertainable, it's expeditious. Now, endeavor to replicate this methodology with a horse. You wish for it to back up. You command, back up, nothing. You repeat, back up, still no response. You apply pressure to its chest. It resists. You exert more force. It rears. And suddenly, what was intended as a straightforward drill devolves into a contentious struggle. Why? Because you are treating the horse as a gargantuan canine, and it most assuredly is not. The horse does not assimilate physical coercion in the same manner. For it, pressure devoid of emotional clarity is not a directive. It is perceived as a threat. It is precisely the modus operandi of a predator, pushing, forcing, an incursion into its personal space. Consequently, its primal instinct is triggered. Either I flee or I fight. And neither of these options culminates in learning. They engender apprehension, foster recalcitrance, and erode trust. But when you fundamentally alter your approach, when you desist from relying on vocal prompts and commence leveraging your physique, when you shift your own mass backward, engender spatial allowance, take a profound inhalation, and wait, the equine perceives that. It apprehends that the coercion has abated, that you are in a state of equanimity, that there is unencumbered, safe space for its locomotion. And then, perhaps tentatively, perhaps with discernible hesitation, it takes a single step backward, and you do nothing. You merely relax even further, and it registers. That was safe. And the next time, it will recall that visceral experience, not the verbal cue, the sensation. That is the quintessential distinction. With a dog, you teach actions. With horses, you build emotional associations. And these associations are potent, they endure, yet they are also fragile. A singular moment of undue pressure, of impatience, of anger, and you can unravel weeks of work, because the horse will not forget how you made it feel. Another common occurrence is this. Individuals successful in dog training approach horses and attempt to apply identical principles. A firm tone of voice, repeated commands, swift corrections, and they become bewildered when the horse fails to respond. Worse still, when the horse begins to evade, to become skittish, to lose trust, and they conclude, this horse is difficult, this horse is stubborn, this horse has issues. However, the horse has no inherent issues. The method itself is flawed. For what is effective with an animal seeking leadership is ineffective with an animal seeking security. And security is not forged through loud pronouncements. It is not built with mechanical repetition. It is not established in haste. Security is cultivated through consistency, through predictability, through you being the same calm, poised, present individual every single day. Because the horse will not follow you simply because you command it. It will follow you because, in your presence, its world makes sense. Because you do not introduce fear, you dispel it. This, then, implies that training horses demands something dog training does not, at the same intensity, profound self-control. For the horse is constantly reading you. If you are irritated, it senses it. If you are rushed, it senses it. If you are feigning calm but are tense internally, it senses it, and it will not trust. For to a horse, inconsistency signifies danger. Conversely, when you genuinely calm yourself, when you take a deep breath, release your shoulders, and decelerate your movements, the horse transforms before you. Literally, you witness its muscles relax, you observe its head lower, you see it take a step toward you, rather than away, because finally, you are speaking its language. Finally, you are conveying what it needs to feel to trust. And when this transpires, when you witness a horse choose to follow you not out of compulsion, but because it feels secure, you comprehend. It is not about training techniques. It is about who you are in its presence. It is about becoming someone worthy of its trust. Now, I'm going to reveal something that changes everything. Something that most people take years to truly grasp, and which, once comprehended, completely transforms the way you interact not just with horses, but with any animal, and perhaps even with yourself. Have you ever noticed how some trainers achieve extraordinary results with horses without ever raising their voice? Without employing force, without conflict, while others, despite yelling, pulling, insisting, accomplish nothing but resistance and fear. Have you ever pondered the fundamental difference between these two types of individuals? The answer doesn't lie in the techniques they employ. It resides in what they transmit unconsciously. Because here is the secret few will tell you. Horses do not obey. Horses mirror. They reflect back to you the precise emotional state you are projecting. If you are in a state of panic, it panics. If you are calm, it calms down. If you are confused, it becomes confused. It's not a choice. It is pure biology. There is a phenomenon called emotional co-regulation. It occurs when two living beings, in close proximity, begin to synchronize their internal states, respiration, heart rate, muscle tension levels. This happens among humans all the time. Have you ever entered a room where someone was nervous and felt that palpable tension in the air? Exactly. Now, imagine you have an animal whose survival, for millions of years, has depended on reading with absolute precision the emotional state of everything in its surroundings. That animal is the horse, and it does so at a level you can scarcely conceive. When you approach a horse, even before you speak, before you touch, before you make any gesture, it is already sensing you, your heart rate, your breathing, the tension in your muscles, and its nervous system responds automatically. If you are tense, its body prepares for flight. If you are calm, its body relaxes. It is not training. It is a reflex. It is a survival instinct transformed into communication. And here is the part that shatters everything you thought you knew. This means the horse is never reacting to your commands. It is reacting to you, to your internal state. And if your internal state is not aligned with what you want it to do, no technique in the world will work. Ponder this. You want the horse to remain calm, but you are anxious. You want him to trust, but you are uncertain. You want him to advance, but you are hesitant. The horse senses the contradiction, and he cannot trust contradiction, because in nature, inconsistency portends danger. Hesitant predators are still predators. Thus, the horse protects himself. He retreats. He resists, not because he is obstinate, but because you are transmitting mixed signals, and he is merely responding to what is truly transpiring within you. Now, contrast this with the canine. The dog, of course, also perceives your emotions, but he has been domesticated to disregard a portion of these, to obey even when you are agitated, to follow directives even when you are bewildered. For over millennia of selective breeding, humans have chosen canines that performed precisely this, that complied irrespective of their owner's emotional state, that remained loyal even amidst chaotic circumstances. The horse did not undergo such a process. He was not bred to override his instincts and follow you blindly. He was, at most, habituated to tolerate our presence, but not to nullify what he perceives. And what he senses about you dictates everything. Absolutely everything. Herein lies the profound insight that perpetually transforms your equestrian relationship. You do not train horses by refining your techniques. You train horses by enhancing yourself, by learning to regulate your own respiration, to soothe your own musculature, to cultivate genuine, unfeigned tranquility within yourself, because the horse will discern the distinction, and only when you genuinely transform internally will he alter externally. And this is arduous. far more challenging than mastering commands or methodologies, because it necessitates introspection into your own emotions, your inherent fears, your burgeoning impatience, and to assiduously address them, not for the horse's sake, but for your own, because the horse will not countenance a version of yourself that you have yet to embrace. However, when you undertake this endeavor, when you genuinely evolve into a more serene, more mindful, more composed individual, the horse discerns this instantly, and he begins to seek your presence, to follow your lead, not as a result of your training, but because, in your mere presence, he has discovered something uncommon: tranquility, assurance, and authentic trust. And this is the concealed truth about equestrian training that few impart. It is not about subjugating the animal, it is about mastering oneself, for ultimately, the horse is not the pupil. You are. And he is the most honest mentor you will ever encounter, for he will never dissemble about your true nature in his presence. So, what does all of this genuinely entail when you're engaging daily, striving to forge a connection with an equine? It signifies that you must cease seeking out magical methodologies, clandestine techniques, or facile stratagems that guarantee expeditious outcomes. For there is no expedient path to trust. No technique can supplant authentic presence. Once you comprehend that the horse is constantly discerning your essence, that it perceives what you yourself are not even consciously aware of feeling, everything undergoes a fundamental transformation. You cease attributing blame to the horse for its unresponsiveness, and you begin to introspect. What exactly am I conveying at this moment? Am I genuinely serene, or merely feigning composure? Am I fully engaged, or is my mind adrift elsewhere? Am I consistent in my demeanor, or am I projecting conflicting signals? And these inquiries are demanding, for they necessitate brutal candor with oneself. They compel you to acknowledge that perhaps the issue was never the horse's obstinacy, recalcitrance, or excessive apprehension. Perhaps the fundamental impediment has consistently been your own failure to master the idiom it employs, the idiom of corporeal expression, of stillness, of energetic resonance. Yet herein lies the profound concealed benefit. When you acquire the ability to communicate with equines in this manner, you are not merely enhancing your equestrian prowess. You are undergoing a personal metamorphosis, becoming more cognizant, more composed, more attuned. For the horse necessitates this of you. It tolerates no lesser measure. And in exacting your optimal self, canine, it bestows upon you the chance to evolve in dimensions you had never contemplated. Ultimately, the horse does not seek directives. It yearns for symbiosis. It does not desire a vociferous leader. It seeks an individual in whom it can repose confidence when its surroundings become daunting. And when you embody such a person, when you ultimately apprehend that authentic connection originates not with the equine, but within yourself, all that once appeared insurmountable becomes effortlessly simple, innate, veritable. Therefore, the next occasion you find yourself in proximity to an equine, halt momentarily, inhale profoundly, and pose to yourself these questions. Who am I, precisely, at this juncture? What nonverbal cues am I conveying? For the equine is already privy to the answer. It is sensing you even now, as you peruse these lines, as you envision yourself alongside it. It has always been prescient, and perhaps the most profound benefaction an equine can bestow upon you is not mere obedience, nor is it exceptional performance. It may not even be a deep-seated partnership. Perhaps it is mirror, the capacity to reflect back to you, unfiltered, unvarnished, unsparingly, precisely who you are when no one is watching, when there's no audience, when it's just you and it, and the naked truth of what you carry within. The dog forgives you. The dog follows you even when you are wrong. But the horse invites you to be better, to find serenity where there was haste, to find clarity where there was confusion, to find presence where there was distraction. And when you accept this invitation, when you truly undertake the internal work it demands, something magical transpires. You are no longer merely training an animal. You are transforming yourself. And the horse, this sensitive, powerful, ancient being Tao, stands there beside you, not as a pupil, as a guide, silently illuminating the